Today on the Commanders Report, I'm going to list 5 reasons why I think that the Washington Commanders will win the NFC East in 2025. And yes, that includes over last year's Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Before we get into my case for why I think the Burgundy and Gold will win the East this year, get us started down there in the comment section by letting me know the percent chance that the Commanders win the division this year. Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance they win the division, to 100, meaning they are definitely taking home the East crown this year. So the first reason why I think that the Commanders have a pretty darn good chance of winning the division this year is that there hasn't been a repeat champion in this division since 2004. Okay, that is over 2 decades since there has been a repeat champion. And over that span, there's been a lot of different scenarios there where the preseason favorite to win the division was heavily favored. And lo and behold, they did not win the division come the end of the season. So you haven't had that repeat champion. Of course, you have multiple good teams in this division. I think that somebody else is going to be crowned the champion of the NFC East this year, not the Philadelphia Eagles. And the reason why I don't think it's going to be the Eagles, guys, is because I think Saquon Barkley is heading towards a regression. All right, and this happens every single year. There is a running back that dominates the league and leads the league in rushing, and everybody thinks they're going to be just as good the following year. But the reality is, guys, running back takes a toll on the body, all right? And if you are running it as much as you are running it to lead the league in rushing yards the previous season, your body is not fully recovered by the time that the new season arrives. And usually either they get hurt or they don't have nearly as good of a season as they had the year prior. Also, the not-so-serious reason when it comes to why Saquon's going to regress is the Madden curse. And, of course, this is well documented. A lot of players that are on the cover of Madden either get injured or they don't have a good season statistically. I think Barkley will be the next victim of the Madden curse. But, obviously, that has nothing to do with actual reasoning for why he will regress. I think the actual reason why Saquon won't be as good this year as he was last year during his generational season is because usually these guys that lead the league in rushing and all this different stuff, they don't follow it up the following season. Let's take a look at the last several rushing leaders in the National Football League. All right, Derrick Henry back in 2020 led the league in carries, yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards per game. The next season, he didn't have nearly as many carries. He ended up getting injured. He had less than 1,000 yards rushing, much less in terms of the touchdown number. And far less yards per carry. So the efficiency numbers were not as good. Then you get to Jonathan Taylor the next year, right? In 2021, led the league in carries, yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards per game, just like Henry did. Next year, what do you know? Injuries, 192 carries, once again, under 1,000 yards rushing, and way less touchdowns. And once again, the efficiency number went down significantly, a full yard less yards per carry. Okay, then you get to Josh Jacobs the following year, all right? Once again, a huge decrease in carries, half the yardage, half the touchdowns, and then once again a big drop in efficiency, 4.9 yards per carry in 2022, going to 3.5 in 2023. Then you get to Christian McCaffrey, where he had incredible numbers, not only as a rushing leader with over 1,400 yards rushing, but he was also great as a pass-catching weapon as well. Nobody thought McCaffrey was going to dip. Well, last year, dealt with injuries, only had 50 carries for 200 yards and no touchdowns, right? So McCaffrey took a big step back last year for the San Francisco 49ers. So why can't the same thing happen to Saquon Barkley? In fact, I think it will happen to Saquon Barkley this year. And another thing here is that Saquon's 28. He's not getting any younger, guys. And the older he gets and the more punishment that body takes, the more likely that injuries are going to happen. That's just the reality of the situation for running backs in the National Football League. And if Saquon regresses, guys, I think the Eagles as a team as a whole regress. All right, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is not as good as a lot of people think he is because he won the Super Bowl. But the reality is Saquon in that run game and the defense did a lot of the heavy lifting for Hurts last year. All right, Hurts played great down the stretch in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship. I don't want to take any of that away, and I do think he's a good quarterback. But is he an elite one? I don't think so. And if you take away Saquon's ability to close out games in the fourth quarter, I don't think the Eagles are nearly the same team than they were last year when they won the whole thing and won the division. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comments section. The Eagles will regress this season? Type T for true or F for false. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by typing T for true or F for false. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, all right, maybe the Eagles will regress, but why can't the Dallas Cowboys, a very talented roster, come in and steal the division? I would say it's possible if Brian Schottenheimer, their new head coach, knows what he's doing, and if George Pickens can keep his nose clean and not fight with people the entire season. Good luck with that, by the way. But when it comes to the Cowboys, as Stephen A. Smith likes to say, guys, what can go wrong will go wrong. And when you got a head coach in Brian Schottenheimer, who I do not believe in, and you interject a player like George Pickens, who has problems both on and off the field, doesn't show up to meetings on time, isn't a team player, all this different stuff, I think it's a powder keg there in Dallas. And for me, I don't think they're going to have a very good season. I think it'll be okay, but I don't think it'll be enough to win a division championship over the Commanders. And then when it comes to the New York Football Giants, they're the Giants, all right? They got a bunch of different quarterback options. They got a rookie that they're probably going to be turning to at some point this season. They have a brutal schedule this year. I don't think that they're good enough as a team. I think they got a very good pass rush, and they will win some games they're not supposed to win because of that. But on the whole, I don't think the Giants are going to be a threat to the Commanders in the division either. So my final reason, all right, we've been talking about a lot of different stuff that has nothing to do with the Washington Commanders. We've been talking about the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants for why I think those teams won't win the division. I think the Commanders, though, are the team that's on the rise in this division. I think the Commanders will be even better this year than they were last year as a football team. Last year, 12-5 and made the NFC Championship game, and that was with a defective offensive line, with a defective cornerback room, all right, with a bunch of injuries to that group the entire season. All right, this year's team is better. They have revamped the offensive line. They've revamped the defense. And also, Jaden Daniels, the heart and soul of this football team, was a rookie last year. And now he's heading into year 2 where he feels even more comfortable in Cliff Kingsbury's offense than he did just a season ago, where he had almost 70% completion percentage, had over 4,400 yards total as both a passer and a rusher. And then he had 31 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions, arguably the greatest season for a rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League. And guys, I think these numbers this year are going to be even better, and he's going to be in the MVP conversation. Also, when it comes to the offense, Deebo Samuel as a gadget piece that Cliff Kingsbury can get creative with on orbit motions, jet sweeps, wide receiver screens, on dig routes, get him the ball out in space. Like, that adds another element to this offense that opposing defenses are going to have to deal with, okay? They already had to deal with Daniels' ability to process defenses, throw the ball deep, of course, his rushing ability and his playmaking ability, but now you got to know where Deebo is on the field at all times, too. So I think that is going to be something that greatly benefits this football team as well. Plus, as we alluded to earlier, like the two biggest areas that the Commanders needed to improve this offseason, they did. The offensive line and the secondary. Last year, these were liabilities for the Commanders. Now they have turned those former liabilities, in my opinion, into strengths in just one offseason. Take a look at the offensive line last year. Brandon Coleman eventually took over the starting left tackle job. He had Allegretti at left guard, Biadasz at center, Cosmi at right guard, and Andrew Wiley at right tackle. He was not fantastic. Now, you get into 2025. You have arguably the best pass-protecting left tackle in football, Laremy Tunsil, who you traded for, Brandon Coleman, who I think is a more natural guard moving inside. You still have Biadasz and Cosmi whenever Cosmi gets back from his injury. And then you got first-round pick Josh Conerly Jr., who was one of the more pro-ready tackle prospects in this year's class, in my opinion, coming in to play right. Then you get to the secondary. Last year, Mike Sainristil, let's face it, Marshon Lattimore was not on the field enough, all right? He barely played. Mike Sainristil was the number one corner for this team for most of the season. The Benjamin St. Juste, or Benjamin St. Toast, was their number 2 corner, with Noah Igbenogany, one of the lowest graded corners in all of football, in the slot. Quan Martin had a good year at free safety, and Jeremy Chin played all right at strong safety. But then this year, Marshon Lattimore, fully healthy and back, is going to be your number 1. Trey Amos, a second-round pick out of Ole Miss, I think is going to be fantastic, is your CB2. And if he stinks, you got Jonathan Jones, who's a longtime pro. Then you get Mike Sainristil playing in his natural spot back in the slot. And then you got Quan Martin back, and Will Harris is a player that they really like in this defense as well. So I think both of those units are much better than what they were in 2024. And you might be saying at home, but Jack, their defensive line still doesn't have a star edge rusher. Well, it's still possible because at the time of recording this video, Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals are very much far apart on contract negotiations. It's still very possible, from my estimation, that the Washington Commanders could land Hendrickson in a trade before the start of the season. And if they do that, then I really think the Washington Commanders are going to be ready to win the NFC East and potentially the whole damn thing here in 2025. But let's go just over the NFC East prediction for me. I think the Commanders will win the division. Most people are going to pick the Eagles because they just won the Super Bowl. I do think the Eagles will make the playoffs, but they will not win the Super Bowl and they will not win the division this year. Dallas, I think, is going to be kind of a dysfunctional mess this year, even though they have some talent on their roster. And then you got the New York Football Giants slotting in at the number 4 spot. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. What will be the NFC East standings at the end of the year? I think it goes Commanders, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants. Let me know your prediction down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more videos like this one on the Washington Commanders every single day, 100% free.